You have tried your best. You tried to reason with him. You have forgiven unimaginable things. And you have tried again. You have explained your needs to him or tried to get him to understand your point of view in 100 different ways, hoping that perhaps this time I will get through to him and he'll listen. But it doesn't work. Part of you realizes that you have to let this relationship go. But part of you is terrified of doing that. What if I let go too soon? How can I leave someone who is struggling? That's what I used to think. Let's talk about why that guilt shows up when you're contemplating leaving. Where it comes from, how to deal with it. Because guilt in toxic relationships isn't random, it's conditioned. You were trained to take responsibility for his emotion, his sadness, his anger, his frustration. You were the one who had to take care of the things that irritated him, to vow to do better, or to take that emotion, frustration, and let him rant at you or hurt you emotionally until he calmed down. And you may have lived by some sort of unwritten code that, or sometimes that code is spoken out. Good mothers don't split families. Good women stay and try to fix things. You don't just give up on your marriage because it's hard. Those aren't universal truths. Those are survival codes, and it kept you safe in that relationship. But it also kept you stuck. In healthy relationships, we build trust, love, connection, respect each other, grow together, learn from each other, listen to each other, negotiate. In toxic relationships, your needs are ridiculed. You are forced to accept things that doesn't feel okay, but then becomes your everyday life. You have to overlook things because it feels too painful or confusing to look closer at some of the things that is really hurting you in the relationship or really confusing you. A toxic relationship has a lot of areas where there is silence creeping in, things that you don't discuss. If you pull away, he might say things like, "After everything I've done, how can you hurt the kids like this? Even discussing splitting the family that we've built together. How can you give up on me when I need you the most?" This may sound emotional. It may sound very sincere, but it's a power move. Instead of addressing your concerns, he is pointing the spotlight to your integrity and your empathy, accusing you of causing the problem, when in reality, the problem is caused by him, and he is the one who is refusing to address the situation because it suits him to do what he wants and have you pay the price. And the more empathic you are, the better it works. But there's another layer behind this: identity. Maybe your sense of self comes from being understanding, loving, and caring. That's the way that you have been trained to interact with people. You believe that that's what's giving you value, to be able to contribute to the people that you love. And If you stop doing that to your partner, to the man that you swore that you would love forever, it feels like you are betraying yourself. But you are not betraying yourself. You are simply expanding behind the role that you were trained to inhabit. Because staying in that role when someone is abusing you and oppressing you and guilting you for having human needs, that means spending the rest of your life in a prison. Even if it doesn't have bars, it sure does have rules and lines that you can't step over. And what's worse is that limited space is becoming more and more cramped. And the rules and the regulations and the punishments are becoming harsher. And the cell that you're inhabiting can even turn into an isolation cell with only you and your partner. There is a line between compassion and control. Of course, there are instances when we should be compassionate. A partner who faces a severe diagnosis, a loyal friend who needs support, our children when they are minor and dependent on our support. Supporting people in those instances, if we have the ability, is part of being human, part of having a heart. But what if the person who claims that they need you is a person who have been putting you down for years, ignoring your wishes and desires and needs for years, who is constantly dismissing you, using dating apps, and when you try to talk about this, just say that it's a guy thing. All men do dumb stuff online. Don't think about it. Doesn't mean anything. What if that's the person who is now trying to guilt you, using your conscience to make you stay and try and keep trying and keep overlooking the hurt that they are causing you? That's not a person in need of empathy. That's the person who is using empathy. And that pull that you're feeling, I have to help them. I just can't let it be. That's not your conscience. It's the leash that they have on you, using your empathy and pulling on it to keep you from leaving. When I finally left my ex-husband, a few days later, he FaceTimed our kids, showing himself in the emergency room, claiming that he faced a health crisis. But I didn't buy it. And he dropped it just like that. There was no talk about it afterwards, and no follow-up visit, no medications. When I asked him to pay his own rent in the apartment that he was staying, that was in my name, he sent me an image of him eating oatmeal, saying that I don't have any money to buy food, so just keep paying the rent for now, please. And I kept doing that. But after a few months, having waited for him to get back on his feet, I once again asked him to please pay for himself because I needed my money for our kids. And he once again sent me an image of oatmeal and accusing me of wanting their father to be homeless. This wasn't vulnerability. He had learned what worked for me. The oatmeal story worked and the emergency room didn't. So when I asked him for something that he didn't want to do, he pulled the oatmeal card again. And I've seen this happen again and again. If you try to walk away from a narcissistic person, as a last resort, they will fake an emergency or crisis, fake an illness to keep you from leaving. If this is happening to you, if they're contacting you and claiming that they're in an emergency, you can say to them that, well, if you need medical help, then call an ambulance. They will take you to the ER. Or you can call the ambulance for them if they are really claiming to have severe medical symptoms. And the same thing with the threatened suicide that many of them will pull. Call the ambulance. They are an adult, and you are not responsible for caring for someone who abused you, for someone who keeps manipulating you. And of course, it's another part to this. It's not only the guilt. Often there is the trauma bond involved. And this is the chemical bond that is created in the brain when a person is repeatedly treating you badly, causing anxiety and stress in you, and then soothing that and shifting the hormones that are expressed to the comfort hormones and the addictive dopamine. Getting away from one of these relationships, it's like being in a spaceship that is leaving the Earth's gravity pull. Even though you feel that pull, like you're about to crash down into that relationship, you have to keep going and trust that eventually when I get further away, time-wise or physically, that pull will decrease. A good thing about these toxic people is that they are good at intensity. They can be very persuasive and intensive during a certain period, but they are not good in the long game. So just keep going. Eventually they will get the message. And if they don't, if they continue to hoover you or stalk you or harass you because they have nothing else to focus on, I will link, because I have a few videos about dangerous stalking and coercive control. I will link those in the description so that you can have a look at them. I'm Emma, holding up a light over the bridge. Thank you for joining me for this video, and see you in the next one.